Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lehigh County Authority Board of Director meeting. Today is April 13, 2026. The meeting has been held in a hybrid fashion, either live in person or people on Zoom or on the call. The paperwork for the meeting has been sent to all the board members and also has been posted online. Lisa, would you please go through the roll call of the board of directors, please?
Okay. Roll call of the board. Amir Famili.
Here.
Jeff Morgan.
Here.
Lyons.
Here.
Linda Rosenfeld.
Here.
Adam Baker. John Ziller. Peter Dent.
Here.
Meena Amin.
Here.
Vijay Singh is not here. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 board members present, so we do have a quorum.
Thank you, appreciate that. Reviewing the agenda, Lisa, any need for any changes on the agenda or any executive sessions?
There's no changes to the agenda, but there will be an executive session following the close of the regular meeting to discuss 2 matters with our solicitor of potential litigation.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Going through the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Linda, would you please lead that?
Yes, we received the minutes and I move that they be approved.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion made by Linda, second by Peter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Committee reports?
No committee reports
Okay,
at this time.
thank you. Moving to next items, public comment.
No comments, thank you.
Okay, I think we have a guest here. Could you please state your name and the reason you're here, please?
Okay, my name is Catherine Simbana. Thank you. Before anything, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak up today. So I'm the homeowner of the house of 1240 North 15th Street. I'm sorry.
Just you can take your time.
I'm a single mother. I worked so hard to get my home. I did a lot of sacrifice to be or to have everything I had in my property and to have a safe place for me and my daughter. On January 26th, the ground beneath my home collapsed. Since then, I have not been able to safely return home. I've been working with insurance, with any investigation, and I get now response from insurances where they basically are not going to be able to cover any damage. The city is asking me now to do a work, it's called compound grouting, and the cost of that are very expensive for me to afford. I try to see legal information. I try to seek for resources so I can get from the city to try to return home. Basically, that's the only thing I want. I want to go back to my home. I feel now like homeless, even though I have my sister that provide me a place right now to live. But right now, I'm asking you guys to help me with any type of resource that you can provide to people that have been in these situations. I know probably, I understand that liability may not be clear right now. The engineers have acknowledged that the water contributes to soil instability on my property. And right now my home is unsafe currently unsafe. I'm still paying my mortgage. I still paying the bills that I have to pay out my property. I have explored insurance and legal option, and I have very limited paths to forward. As a mother, my priority is simply to get my daughter back into a safe home. And I understand that. I'm simply ask you, consider my situation, not just technically, but also personally as a mother. I would like to know, like, if anybody in the city or the Lehigh County Authority has anything to help people like in my situation.
Well, first of all, we are very sorry. So what has happened? And we will do our utmost to help you. And I appreciate for you coming here and presenting your case. If you don't mind, I'm going to open to the board member if they have any question, they ask for clarifications. And then we would have the executive session, we will make a decision. And to the office who will contact you with anything that we can do to help you. But we are truly, I'd say that on behalf of all the board members, being a single mom and losing your house is very, very difficult. And we are very, very sorry for that. Any question from the board members?
Lisa, would you describe again what happened here?
I'll describe briefly and then I'll ask Chris Mon to provide any additional details. But on that date, first of all, there was 16 inches of snow on the ground at the time. We had reports of a water main break or water loss in some way, shape, or form in that area. We investigated and did find we were losing water through a water main break and a sinkhole was happening kind of simultaneously at that time. 3 homes were impacted. 3 families were displaced as part of this situation. We've been kind of working it for the past 3 months now in terms of understanding the liability, repairing what we can repair for ourselves, and then working through the insurance process. Chris, you want to add anything to the actual situation that occurred in your teams?
Sure. So as this was happening, there were 2 other main breaks that we had crews on. So this was the 3rd of 3 main breaks that happened within a 4-hour period. We showed up on scene around noon. Our crews were so thin that our senior manager actually ended up on site with our checker, the gentleman who drives around when we get calls from customers to check on complaints. We did recognize that there was a leak at the time, and we had to chisel through, to Lisa's point, 12 or 16 inches of snow just to find the curbs to start to address. Once we found those, we recognized that it was a larger situation. So we had to actually have 2 of our other supervisors show up with snow plows to plow the tops and bottoms of our street so we could actually shut down the full main on the street itself. And once we were able to plow the street and contain the main, that's when the water actually was able to stop flowing. At that point, there was a sinkhole that opened up in 1240's front yard along the sidewalk, and we secured the scene. And then it was such a substantial main break that we actually had to contract it out. So we ended up engaging with one of our vendors to help us fix the issue that we found at that time.
And how exactly did you fix it? And what was done? What was the work that was done by the contractor there?
So there was a split through the pipe, so it wasn't hopefully a wraparound type of break. We actually had to dig down almost 9 feet, which is a little bit beyond LCA's capabilities. Anything beyond 6 or 7 feet, we usually contract out for safety's sake. We removed and replaced a section of pipe in kind. We did our backfill. We actually had to put in a full 10 yards of flowable fill to backfill the area that caused the sinkhole to move through under the sidewalk. At that point, then it was just a standard main break replacement, repair, fill. Once it was secured, if you drive up 15th Street, you can see the patch that's in the road. It is quite substantial. It was a fairly serious break.
Any other question from the board member? I think Kevin has joined us as well.
So what's the fix here? What does she need to have happen to get back into this?
Could you explain what you need to do and what is the cost associated with fixing?
So I went to a couple of companies that do compound grading, which is what the building inspector asked me to fix first, because the house is another job, but the priority is the land. So he said to do compound grading, and I brought like two companies. One of them provided me an estimate. They need an engineer. Because we don't have I don't have a report on my hands to show, maybe to help the engineer to lower the cost. The engineer have to do some type of test in the land, see how the intense are the damages, and see what exactly is underneath, what type of soil, I guess some studies in order to know exactly what needs to be fixed are done. I don't have any report, second phase report from the city, so that makes everything more complicated for me. And the estimates I gave to Lisa, I'm sorry, and are about the engineer with the estimate that he may believe are right now, the compound grading cost between $33,500, and the engineer itself $15,500. It can be between probably 50 or plus more $1,000. 50.
50.
50,
Okay.
yes, 50K. And that's too much money for me. I don't know, it can be more than that. It's just that's just an estimate for what they have been seen only. Like I said, there's no report. There's another company that I sent everything that I have, the reports that I have, and he said that's not enough for him to just go there and look, because they need a report to see more deeply why they came with the conclusion that I have to have this job at my property. So I really don't know the exactly cost, because I need an engineer, and the engineers itself are very expensive. Like over $15,000 is a lot for me to pay just to have an estimate.
Can I ask a question?
Sure,
Just
please.
to clarify, the $15,000 is the engineer's cost just to do a report for you? And then
Yeah.
the 50,000 is the repair estimate?
The 15,000 is only the engineer. The repair can be between $33,500 and more. Like everything depends how intense that engineer sees. The engineer has to search more, it's gonna be more.
It seems to me, we'll talk about this. In my opinion, you really don't know what this is gonna take to get you fixed. Maybe someone will disagree with me here. It's not clear to me exactly, nor is it clear to you, exactly what it's gonna take here between what the engineer may find and what the subsequent work may be and how much that will cost. So if we want to help you out, I want to help you out, but it would be helpful to know what the scope is, as we say, what the scope of the issue is, so we can better respond to your request. How we propose to do that, I'm not quite sure yet, but that's my reaction right now. We want to help, we're sympathetic, but I want to know the scope of where we're headed here. Make sense? No?
I think we want to lean on Kevin a little bit as our solicitor to guide us through discussion and executive session about what form of help we may be able to provide and what our risks are as well. So we're taking a rounded approach to trying to provide support where we can.
Where are the other two? You said there were 3 homes involved with this?
Actually, were two that were two orders. The third home, people sleeps there.
You're back in the home?
No, they never left.
They never left.
They never had that order to live. Yeah.
Chris, do you know more about that?
I know there was two definitely affected. We thought there may have been third. And it's a downhill situation. So it's 1240, 1236, and 1230. I'm not sure the house number, but it's three houses right in a row from where the initial break happened.
Are the other homes affected, like, they're not affected, like,
The second home two were ordered to be evacuated, and the third was recommended, but the homeowner opted to stay.
has the second home folks approached us?
No.
They have.
Just to be clear, the major sinkhole activity was in front of the 1240 property.
Yes.
So I think there's probably some differences in terms of
Sure
the
there is,
amount
yeah.
of work.
What's the closest cross street there going east-west to your property?
On the sides, Fairmont, Woodland,
Fairmont,
and
okay.
Woodland.
So 15th and Fairmont
I
and
mean, yeah, between,
south of that?
yeah.
Any other question from the board member? Okay. Again, we are very sorry for what happened, and I appreciate for you coming here and explaining your case to us. We will have the sessions with our board member and our solicitor, and we make a decision, it will be communicated to you soon. Okay? Thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Going on to the next item on the agenda, under finance and administration, we have the LCA rebranding strategies on the discussion. The slides was sent to you over the weekend. I'm sorry, somebody said something.
I think Linda was just coughing.
Oh, okay, okay.
So for this topic, this is just a discussion, no action today. And it's the very first presentation of our new Director of Communications, Taylor Sticks. I'll go ahead and share screen. And oops, bring that up for you. Because Josh is on the call.
Yes. All right, you can, so we're gonna be talking about branding, and LCA's brand today. Really why brand matters, and why a rebrand matters for LCA specifically. You go to the next one. So I know we had a few new board members. Some of y'all got a presentation last year on a communication study where we sent out some surveys. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I just wanted to poll the board here on our logo. Does anybody know what it means? And if you do, or you may have an idea, but maybe our new board member, Manal, if you have some thoughts on what that logo means.
To be honest, I don't. I know the middle is like a water drop, so.
Okay,
Other
all
than
right.
that, no, I don't.
There's an L,
There's an L, okay.
and an A, I guess you could call the triangle in the middle kind of like an A, maybe, right?
Okay.
And,
It's the first time I've noticed
There's
seeing
an arrow in there.
there's a water drop in the middle. I never
That's water,
picked that up before.
Water drop, yes,
Like
yeah.
an arrow in the middle.
Arrow. So you don't see a mountain?
Although.
No.
I do think that they have some sense.
So those are all great thoughts. Anything else? Nothing really, there's a lot of different ideas, right? Not a lot of different thoughts on what our logo could be. And so one of the things that is spurring our rebrand is nobody really knows what it is or what it means. There's a roadway, a mountain, a water drop, an arrow, and letters, there's a lot of confusion as to what our logo actually means. There's not really a strong identity that is baked into it that everybody understands who we are and what we do based on our logo. So before we get started on the discussion of our rebrand, I thought we should talk about some famous rebrands. Gap went through a rebrand in 2010, and 6 days later they changed it back to their logo after some public backlash. I think everybody's familiar with the Cracker Barrel incident where they did about the same thing. I think it was a little shorter, maybe like 1 or 2 days after they rolled it out. And usually when the president is commenting on your rebrand, you didn't do a really good job. So they also went back to their old logo. And then if you look at Uber's, really for the longest time from 2012 to 2017, their logo really didn't say what they did or who they are. It didn't even have their name in it, so it was very confusing. You can see how different iterations of their brand identity. And then Pepsi's changed a lot over the years. And now their iconic red and white and blue logo is, you immediately know it's Pepsi without a name in it. So that's kind of like where we want to get to is people immediately recognize our logo when they see it. So what are the problems that we have and what are the problems our brand is facing? So number one, we deliver critical services, but really the public doesn't really understand what we do and what services we provide. Wastewater and water are often invisible until they don't work, until you go to your faucet and turn it on and the water's not running, or you have sewage backing up into your home. That's when people start to pay attention. Customer interaction happens during problems mainly, not during good times. And then that complexity of water and wastewater creates confusion among people. So a lot of the instinct that we have in the utility space as a whole is that we should just stay low profile. We don't want attention. We don't want people to pay attention to us and know who we are. But in reality, if we don't define who we are, other people will. So being quiet, staying silent creates a lot of room for misinformation and confusion. We've seen that lately in a lot of social media posts around data centers. People think that we have some type of authority to stop the data centers from coming, and there's all these data centers that are coming in when I think we don't really even have a major project in front of us. So that lack of visibility with our brand weakens trust over time. Utilities historically stay out of the spotlight, and that's worked in the past, but unfortunately, in the environment that we're in with social media, things move quicker. We have to operate in the same space that a lot of other brands do. So if we don't proactively define who we are, the public is going to, and it's not going to be something we want. So what does brand actually mean, especially for Lehigh County Authority? Brand is how the public perceives us at every touch point. So our bills, alerts and notifications, website, social media, whenever they see a field crew, their uniforms, our trucks, and then also in media coverage. So again, why it matters is trust. It goes all the way back to trust, right? It's operational and it's not optional. Residents have to trust that our water is safe to drink. They have to trust that our construction projects are not going to fail, and they have to trust the outage information that we give them. They also need to trust the conservation guidance, especially right now in like a drought. Without trust, compliance drops. People don't want to conserve water. Complaints rise. Misinformation spreads rampantly. And then customers purchase bottled water, or they're fearful of tap water. So that's something that we have to brand, that our water is safe to drink, that you don't need to go buy bottled water. So again, I talked a little bit earlier about how last year we did a communications study that polled a lot of our customers. We had 612 responses, and some of the findings were very, very interesting. I think most of y'all know that a lot of people don't really know what we do. I find it interesting that people actually said they don't know what they do and they're a customer, what we do and they're a customer of ours. So they're paying us money and they don't know what we do. And so our rebrand will hopefully change those ideas so that we see that when we do this poll again after our rebrand, that there is 0% on don't know, 0% trash recycling, and 0% on stormwater. So the cost of doing nothing, we already have a brand, but we just learned that not many people even know what our visual identity stands for. And the data tells us that our brand is confusing people who don't really know what we do. So without action, without rebranding, without telling our story, we have lower trust in emergencies, slower program participation, increased complaints, and harder rate conversations. So when we go to raise rates, makes it harder for us to have buy-in from the public. And then we have weaker regional positioning. So LCA is a leader in the Lehigh Valley, and without a good recognizable brand, our position becomes weakened. So what's the scope? We have been looking at how do we do a rebrand for LCA? And so the process isn't just a visual identity, isn't just our logo, though that is a primary part of it. It's brand positioning and messaging. So who we are, what we do, why it matters to the public. Our visual identity, so our logo, uniforms, our design, colors, our voice and tone. So how do people talk about us? How do we talk about ourselves? And then our organizational name. So I think this is one of the most interesting parts about this rebrand is thinking about what do people call us? So Lehigh County Authority is can be kind of, it's very obscure, right? We're an authority. It could be also negative. Authority is a negative term. But then also we have customers that don't live in Lehigh County. We, have customers outside. So our name really doesn't even fully describe what we do. So when we think about why is the name a part of the conversation, Lehigh County Authority does not reflect who we are or what we do. We serve beyond Lehigh County. We provide water and wastewater services, and neither of those are in our name. So clarity and recognition is one of the things that we want to focus on when we think about our name and rebranding. That matters for public understanding. Okay, so our brand needs to clearly communicate trust, clarity, and regional impact. Without those three things, then our people are still going to be confused. They're not going to know what we do. We provide safe, reliable, and essential services. We have to have trust during critical moments. And then we have to make it clear for customers and residents to know who we are, what we do. So there's no confusion when the boil water notice goes out that our customers are not confused about what to do. They're also not confused that our water is safe to drink and they go buy bottled water. And then the regional impact, we serve a lot of municipalities. So having trust and understanding from all of those different municipalities that have a wide range of diverse customers, it really is something that supports local impact or economic growth and public health. So what does success look like for a rebrand at LCA? It's not just for communications and marketing, right? It's for operations. We want residents to immediately know who LCA is when they see us in the streets, when they see us knocking on doors, doing canvassing for our lead program. We have to make sure that our messages are clear and understood and that they are consistent. Programs see higher participation rates and then trust improves over time. So if people understand us, they trust us. If they trust us, everything else gets easier. So on our call today is the CEO of Artery Collective. We are partnering with Artery Collective. They're a brand and creative agency, and they are going to help us with all of the work that's entailed in a rebrand. So there's 5 components of this rebrand: brand strategy and discovery. So that's going to be leadership and stakeholder engagement. We want to have buy-in from our internal audience, our employees. We want to have buy-in from the board and input from the board, and then buy-in from the public as well. So our customers, we want them to give us feedback on who we are, what we do, in order to be successful in a rebrand. And then brand identity development, so logo system, visual identity, name, color palette, typography, and a design system, voice and tone definition, brand guidelines and asset library. So this is one of the key things that Artery Collective really shined in their proposal for the rebrand was an organized digital asset library for our employees. Right now, there's a mix of different templates and letterheads and logos that people use sometimes incorrectly, and having clear rules and consistent application of our visual identity is really something that's important. So establishing a library for our employees to go to when they need to create documents, messaging, it's all standardized and routine in a library. And then templates and core assets, so presentations, document templates, email signatures, social media graphics, all will be standardized. Then they'll also help us with a rollout strategy. So obviously, as part of any rebrand, you have to communicate it widely, especially when you're changing your name. So they're going to assist us with an internal and external launch planning, staff communication tools, and messaging and implementation guidance. So timeline and process, how long is it going to be? We are looking at a rollout. It's a 5-phase rollout, with a rollout of phase 5 in September of 2026. Though I do want to be clear that it's not going to be an immediate rollout. You're not going to see our trucks changing logos and all of that because of cost. So it's going to be phased over the next year. Right now, we are in phase 1, so we are actively starting to schedule some stakeholder interviews, internal sessions. We are doing a brand audit, positioning development, finding out exactly who do we need to talk to, who are the people that can contribute to helping us rebrand. Identity development, that's when we start looking at logo concepts, visual direction, getting feedback from employees, stakeholders on the look and feel of our new visual identity. And then phase 3 is when we start to build those brand standards and asset library for our employees. Phase 4 will be the critical one, right? So internal and external launch strategy. That's figuring out how we're going to actually launch in phase 5 through staff tools, messaging, external strategies. And so then phase 5 is the final rollout, when we execute internal rollout first. We make sure that staff understands our brand as they're talking to customers, as they're out in the field, as they're going home talking to their neighbors about LCA and our new brand. And then launching externally from a public announcement, updated materials, and just ongoing communication. So that is our rebrand. I know I went pretty quick, so I'm sure y'all have some questions. Josh Boren from the Artery Collective is also here to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Thank you. Any question from board members?
So are we thinking about having a mascot, like a little glass of water that runs around with a smile on his face? Or
I like how you think. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, we do need a new mascot.
Any volunteers? Any other question from the board member?
A comment, I know when I talk to people, I always have to add the word water into it because it's totally unclear, like I said, Lehigh County Authority could be anything.
that was kind of Orwellian.
We cannot change the Lehigh County Authority name, can we? Or this is very
We
complicated?
could make a tagline, I guess.
Well, that's the question I was gonna ask.
Right.
The question I was gonna ask was whether or not the rebranding is totally focused in on the logo and associated material is also focused on name, because there are some requirements under the Authorities Act.
Sure.
There's some requirements with addressing that with the county as well. It can be done. It's just certain procedural steps that if you're planning on doing that you have to follow through and build into your timeline.
Absolutely.
If I could just add on to that, one of the things that I know Taylor and Sue at the SAM Center are doing is reviewing other utilities that have gone through a similar rebranding. One that comes to my mind specifically is Pittsburgh, where they are technically called Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority, but they've rebranded as Pittsburgh Water. but all their official documents still say Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. So there's different ways that you can do it in terms of how you present yourself versus what your official documents say. And we'll have plenty of time to talk with you, Kevin, about the ins and outs of that.
So we may have some doing business as type of names or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you go over I-78 toward Murray Hill, and you see the big towers there for American Water of New Jersey. I think they're a for-profit entity around the country, and I think it's important to have somehow water itself, because these water drops are used everywhere in this business. They're so ubiquitous, and it's maybe overused and people just don't notice it or whatever, but and even here, until you just pointed out, I didn't realize that in the middle there, that was a water drop in the logo. And
It's interesting to his point that the Vinci Discovery Center has a logo, part of which, help me when I'm wrong here, is an atom with some electrons going around it. And I said, and I believe there's two. And I said, gee, of course I knew this right off the bat, that's lithium. Why the hell would they name a discovery center after lithium? And nobody knew. It was why they picked this. They had no idea why they picked it. It looked good. Anyway.
Any other question from the board members?
Just a fun fact, I think, building on the American Water comment and the power of branding, I believe American Water is actually a French-owned company.
Really?
Any other questions? I have a couple of questions to this is just for me thinking out here. A lot of companies for profit, they rebrand because they want to increase their sales, right? So they want to attract customers. Our customer has no choice; they have to buy from us, right? So we are not rebranding for increased revenue or beating the competitions with this style. I think the main theme that I got from your presentations that I'm trying to see, what are the two things that we're trying to accomplish? Yeah, there are some of them, people recognize that people are water and sewer, okay, that's fine. But I think the theme that I get, correct me if I'm wrong, is to increase the trust of the customer upon us. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So in order to do that, you have to have a baseline. Trust is a sort of the soft measurement, I would say. Today we don't correct our customer complaint, right? On time, right? Maybe 6 months from now, we do a survey, right? So I'm just trying to define, if we don't know where we stand on the trust. So when you finish your work, what is your reference point? How you're going to go? So whether you read that all the things that we have done, whether we have accomplished anything or not.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the trust is part of where we see people don't even know who we are. So how can they even trust us, right? If they don't even know what we are or what we do. I think that's one of the key points that we want to look at is, do they know what we do in the future, right? With this rebrand. I think trust is also earned. So I think that's going to be part of the messaging that we're going to have is, why should they trust us? Why should they trust this new LCA brand? So yeah, we're going to definitely have, I know I'm working with Chris on getting customer sentiment and customer feedback that we can track. So that's something that we're going to be definitely tracking in the next year as we embark on the process.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking, if our water does not meet the standards, if the customer have a break, we take a long time to repair, or too many of customer alert going out. I'm just thinking loud here. My concern is that do we need to do some homework first to establish what trust means to a customer and what value it has before we start the journey on rebrand, right? I'm just I'm just concerned that without knowing where we are, it would be very difficult for us to know where we are going to go, has an improvement or not.
I'll push back on a little
Okay,
bit, yeah,
that's
just
fine.
because from the communication study that was done, we know people really don't know what we do. And I think, in order for them to trust us, right, they have to know what we do. So that's the baseline that we're going off, of, right? We want people to know who we are immediately. When they see our truck rolling down the street, they see our logo and they know that's LCA Sewer and Water, whatever our name is, right? They know exactly who that is. So that's the first part of it. Then we have to build that trust. So we have to go and find out, okay, do people think our water is safe? And that's part of that rebrand is communicating, hey, our water is actually safe. You can trust us. Here's why. So it's not just a one and done type deal. It's a multi-year. We have to track it. We have to find out, do people understand who we are now? And then build that brand, build that trust. I hope that answers your question. I don't think, right now, if we were to do a survey on do our customers trust us, the answer is going to be no, because they don't know who we are. They don't know what we do.
So does it make sense that first we fix our customer complaint survey, that we can get real customer feedback from the bill payment to interaction with our whatever that we interface customers to have, because that you take a year to collect that information. And maybe trust is not the issue that we have. Maybe our problem is that we are not responsive so much to customer. I'm just trying to see, are we solving the right problem or the wrong problem?
I think they're two separate things, honestly. I think, they don't go hand in hand. I think a good brand and a good visual identity, you can have a great brand and great visual identity and still have, poor customer service. I think we see that all the time, right? T-Mobile, my cell phone carrier, right? They have awful customer service, but we all recognize it, right? So I think those two things can be separate, but also linked together. So I think it's going to be, I know from working with Chris, we definitely want to figure out ways to get that feedback. We will need that feedback in the rollout phase to figure out how to communicate this.
What was the reason Pittsburgh was going to rebranding? What was the reason? What was the goal?
I'm not 100% sure on Pittsburgh.
Well, has gone through a lot of change because of having water quality problems with lead in their drinking water. They also went through like a PUC hearing process where they became under the control of the PUC, even though they're a municipal authority, a lot of operational issues. So they really needed to shed the baggage from the past and create a new identity that is forward-looking and smart and customer-centric. And their name, they were branded as PWSA, which nobody knows what those letters mean. So creating a different brand around Pittsburgh Water, coupled with kind of sort of the similar but different from what Taylor's saying, like coupled with programs to actually enhance their service or improve their water quality, kind of comes together as a parallel or complementary efforts.
Amir, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there a reason we're not discussing the hauled waste services as well? I mean, we talk water, wastewater, but hauled waste is probably very unknown to a lot of people as well.
So the hauled waste program is wastewater, and it's 260 customers compared to the 55,000 or 270,000 people that we serve connected to the public system. So our core focus is on the direct customer relationship that we have, but hauled waste is part of wastewater.
Thank you, Jeff.
So what you're saying is it's, the identity first and, trust and how we work is another thing. But yeah, just from my own, limited experience on the board and interaction with customers, we're getting these letters now about lead and it's a lot of confusion. Many don't, anecdotally, I'm seeing that they don't understand what LCA is or what we're doing or why we're doing it. And yet we're asking them to allow people to come into their homes and go down to the basement or whatever, and look at, change out the water meters or whatever. And it's, again, with the name, it's not obvious on the logo, what it is we do. And think it would help.
Yeah, I think on one of my very first water main repairs that I went to, a customer came outside and said, "Who are y'all?" And he didn't have water at the time, and we're in the street working, and so he was a paying customer. He had no idea who we were.
PPL rebranded, to your point, Amir, about being a utility. It was Pennsylvania Power and Light. And they've spent probably a lot of money and time coming up with PPL. But they were a utility as well, and people had to, back then, had to buy from them.
Correct.
And they went through a rebranding.
I just want to make sure that, whenever you go through a process, you have to know where you are. So when you get to the endpoint that you can compare, that was my.
No, you're making a good point. But one issue is that no one knows who we are. LCA is, I don't, Lehigh County Authority, what the heck is that? I mean, so there should be some connection, I think, with what we actually.
When did our last logo and brand come about? How old
That's
is
a good
this?
question.
The triangle roadway water drop, whatever logo that we're using now was here when I started in 1998. I've seen it on every document that we have in our archive. I don't know when it was born, but it was born a long time ago.
So we're not Uber changing it every year.
No, we're not.
Probably on the back of an envelope with some of our.
When I started, I asked the same question that Taylor is asking and got the same sort of mixed bag. Well, there's a water drop in it. It's looking forward into the horizon. It's a mountain. I don't know. Yeah, never very clear. We had gone through some concepts of a rebrand right around the time that the lease was happening, but it felt like the wrong time to do something like that as we were getting our feet on the ground with Allentown. And now that we were 13-ish years in, it feels more.
We talked about the cost of this at all?
We have not.
I have not. Yes, so we did get three. We had three companies. So we actually talked to four, and three submitted bids for it. We went with actually the lowest bidder. So this is a $35,000 rebrand, which is actually pretty incredible. And especially with the added on services of the rollout strategy. The other two bidders did not have that, and it would have been quite more expensive.
So that's just to do the graphical design and the intellectual stuff of it, nothing in terms of changing logos or whatever on trucks or.
Correct, yes.
It's really for signage and all that.
Correct.
So there might be some other real money.
Yes, that will be part of a further phase after we roll out the initial grant.
Good presentation, Al.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to your feedback as we go through the process as well. So don't hesitate to provide.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, moving to underwater. Is a water main replacement program cycle 9 and 10 is the Blue Pages digital package, page 6 through 13.
Let's Chuck Wolf, Jason Peters.
Yep.
Present.
So Jason is going to present this. This is for construction phase of replacement of 2 miles of old water main in the city. It's a lease requirement. We're required to do 4 miles every 4 years. And I'll turn the details over to Jason.
Thanks, Chuck. Thank you, Amir, and thank you, board. Ongoing saga of replacing water mains in the city of Allentown. We're up to, happily say this now, cycles 9 and 10. Like Chuck had mentioned, it's roughly around 2 miles of water main replacement in the city. Per the amended operating standards of the lease, which were just amended a few years back, requires LCA to replace 4 miles of aged spun cast, pig cast main in a 4-year term now. So we can do all miles in 1 year, or we can spread it out as we go. We have to complete those 4 miles by the year end 2028. So this year's project is just over 2 miles. So far, approximately in the bank, we have about just a little over a half a mile of water main that has accrued since 2025 through emergency repairs from our field service staff and some carryover from the last term, which ended at the end of 2024. Funding for this project itself will be funded by the Allentown, LCA Allentown Division. Project status in February of 2024. The board approved the design phase and bid phase for this project. The prioritization of the water mains to be replaced as part of the cycle was completed in 2024, and substantially complete plans were submitted to the city in 2025. That is all in accordance to the agreement requirements from the lease. This approval, which is construction phase for cycles 9 and 10, includes pipe replacement, like I said, at exactly 2.04 miles. And again, that'll go towards that pot that we must meet by 2028. All the water mains we're going to be replacing this year are going to fall within right-of-ways of both the city and PennDOT. There is a vast majority of it on PennDOT on Lehigh Street, which takes us up there to about the split at Jefferson, thereby, if you know where IHOP is. And we'll be starting down closer to Queen City Airport for that. A lot of that is off into the shoulder, into the grass area. Once we get up close to Jefferson, it will jump back out in the road. So there is some restoration work that we'll be doing regarding to the paving in PennDOT Road right away. The rest will be in City of Allentown right away, in close proximity to that area back in the older developments. If you know where the Atlanta Metro bus station is, okay, in the old ambassador field, you'll be back in there, all connected together, keeping the mobilization cost for our contractor down to a small footprint. Bidding summary for the construction phase itself. We advertised for bid on February 17th. Mandatory pre-bid virtual meeting was held on March 11th. We had 9 contractors at that time in attendance to the mandatory pre-bid. And then on March 19th, you can see the bidders pool and list here that we had. I'm pleased to announce that we had Joanne Bradley as the apparent low bidder for the project. Joanne Bradley's done many water main replacements for us in Allentown and our suburban. Also, they are an awarded contractor for the lead cycle 2 project as part of one of the 2 contracts. So definitely the reference checks check out from Joanne Bradley, and we definitely suggested we accept their bid and move them into this project itself. Again, with this project for the city roads, we would like to enter into a restoration cost sharing agreement with the city of Allentown to do all the final paving restorations, which is the mill and overlay on the road surface itself, which is 1.5 inches, and any of the connected ADA ramps. We did that starting back in cycle 5 in the Allentown program, and it's just going to be another revamp of that agreement itself. For professional services, we are presenting to you guys for authorization to take our engineer for our design team, which is Gannett Fleming Train System, to do the construction management, construction engineering, and inspection for this project itself, heavily because it's on a bunch of it is on PennDOT right away. So we're seeking approval from the board today for a capital project authorization for the construction phase of the Allentown Division cycles 9 and 10 in the amount of $4,930,564, which includes the professional service authorization to Gannett Fleming Train System in the amount of $164,520, a general construction contract, construction to Joanne Bradley for $36,008, and a final paving restoration contract agreement to the city of Allentown for $455,036. Anybody have any?
Thank you. Any question from the board?
Yeah, my perennial question is, these guys are $1,100,000 low. Must be having a nightmare when they woke up and saw this bid. They could have thrown $800,000 on the job and got it. I know how I would feel having been a contractor. All the other bids are in the $5 million range. Did somebody miss something here?
I would say not. I think a big key factor to this, knowing that Joanne Bradley is local, they're in Bethlehem. Also, they are going to be on site already with the lead project. And I think a heavy influence to some of this number is the influx of the fuel costs that are right now. We're seeing diesel prices at over $6 a gallon right now. But these guys local, comparative to some of the other bidders, I mean, you have Dolly Construction, they're out of closer to Philly. Pact One is over in New Jersey. You have a lot of carrying costs for delivery equipment and transportation. I think there's a big factor that they're local and they also have that work already with us for the lead project. These guys have, Joel and Bradley have been on many of our projects and have been awarded that they really know what they're up against, and perform very well.
Any other question from the board members?
So you said,
Just a comment, if I may.
go ahead, please, Jeff.
So Ted, I scratched my head as well because we had a similar project in Doylestown that opened a few days earlier, and Bradley was 5th out of 10 bidders. So I have no rhyme or reason how these guys come up with their numbers.
Thank you.
You said earlier that some of the work will be done on over in the Queen City Airport land. Are there any other land that's like private property or other authorities that'll be impacted in terms of where you have to go under?
Right. None of this work is on private property. It's gonna be still in the right of way of PennDOT itself. It's in the shoulder, so it's within from the curb into the grass area in the shoulder, maybe about 7-8 feet in. But it's still all within PennDOT right of way. It's not on private property itself.
Thank you.
One thing I did want to make mention in regards to the final paving restoration contract, that final agreement paperwork will be signed and executed by the mayor, and then we'll be coming back here for Liesel's execution. So that's part of the motion itself. That agreement's not attached, but the language will be the same as what's been conducted in the last several years.
Any other question from the board member? Recall who was the other contractor who did the other cycle for us?
Cycles 7 and 8 last year, that was Nick Abadizio and Sons out of Philadelphia.
It's not,
They did not even bid this time.
maybe we squeezed it too hard. Okay. So, if there's no more questions, we're seeking approval for the water main replacement program, cycle 9 and 10, for the amount of the $4,930,564.
I have another question. Now, then I'll leave it alone. When you award a project like this with someone who's really low, in this case, this is really low. Trust me. You're talking 25% below. Are you extra careful about change orders that start to roll in and really managing the contract to the original intent and so forth and so on?
Correct, absolutely.
These guys are not that type of contractor. They're not hitting with changes all the
From my
time.
experience with Joel and Bradley over the last decade, they are by far.
They're picking the
They're
spells and
not
specs.
picking like some of the other
Yes, they do.
names I've seen that came in. Yes.
Thank you.
Ted,
Very
maybe I can add here, with the Procore system that we have, I'm assuming all of these projects in the Procore,
That's
correct?
correct.
Part of our metric, we're gonna be seeing what projects are time, that are on the dollar that, so we're gonna be seeing hopefully those scorecards.
Right.
So if they are off by that much, our scorecard is gonna show with the new system that we have put in
Good.
place.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the questions.
I'll make the.
I move that we approve this.
Linda made the motion and
Second.
Peter seconded that. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed.
Thank you, Amir. Thank you, board.
Thank you. Moving to next item on the wastewater, we have industrial treatment plan, master plan discussion.
Yeah, so this is our perpetual item. It will stay on the agenda for every meeting until we have something figured out. I don't have any specific presentation, definitely nothing to approve today. I just wanted to provide a brief update. to let you know that in the last couple of weeks since our last meeting, a lot of discussion between our staff and the Upper Macungie Township engineer to help understand more about our project and the need for a project, the scope of our project. Several people in the room have been working on that with the township engineer. So I think we're making some reasonably good progress there in having the township's technical side understand the pretreatment project and what's needed there. We are moving forward with some very preliminary reviews of the electrical system, so we're ready to move quickly when we have the approvals that we need. So that's another piece of the puzzle. So in the week ahead, the next step is to re-engage with the township manager who had been on vacation the past 10 days or so and try to restart that conversation. We really need to get in front of the township supervisors to get toward pre-agreement of some kind to indicate support so we can move the project forward. Meanwhile, we are still doing bi-weekly meetings with Boston Beer about their projects, so we have a good understanding of their project and when their pretreatment plant will be online, and that will impact our facility significantly when that happens. So that's kind of the high level update of what's been going on, and I just want to make sure that this stays on our agenda so that we have a chance to talk about it each time, and at the very moment that we have something to look at and approve, that we have it on the agenda to be able to do that.
There was a big article in the paper about the growth for Macungie Township and all of that. Affect their decision making at all here, or?
I think it does, Ted. I think that the township, for what we can gather from our contacts, the township is very concerned about availability and capacity for the growth that may happen. When we did the Act 537 plan for the region, we used numbers that the township gave us for growth. And those numbers may or may not be what actually happens based on future predictions. So as we hone in on the project at pretreatment, it's becoming more and more clear, and that's why these technical discussions are helpful, more and more clear that the pretreatment plant is an avenue to create organic capacity that the township can then allocate to new growth. The flow side is a whole different ball of wax, but the organic side is very limited if we don't have this pretreatment plant. So I think that's been an important conversation we've had the last couple of weeks with the township.
So what percent of flow to the pretreatment plant comes from Upper Macungie Township customers?
Like 99%. There's really this little pocket of maybe 140 residential customers in Weisenberg and 43 customers in Low Hill that get intermingled with Upper Macungie through there, but the rest of it is all Upper Macungie. I think the challenge in the conversations is that the performance of the pretreatment plant, while it's treating waste generated in Upper Macungie Township, it creates organic capacity downstream as well because of the dilution factor. So there's that's been, I think, the biggest hurdle in terms of understanding who should pay for it. Question.
Any updates or new obstacles on the federal funding end of things at all? Or?
Not anything very specific, other than we did hear that our project did not make the cut for Representative McKenzie's federal appropriations request, which is disappointing news. But we do have the same request into Senator Fetterman and Senator McCormick's offices, and we think we have some avenues to have conversations there to see if anything.
These earmarks or these
the CDS or the community project funding is or congressionally directed spending, just nice ways of saying earmarks. Yeah. So that's still an open item.
Yeah, I mean, Upper Macungie's growth, it depends if pretreatment plant gets shut down, I think their growth is it impact us because of the, the BOD, down Client's Island, but anyway, that would be an interesting discussion with Upper McConkey Township.
Yeah, trying to arrange that so we have more dialogue with the township at the decision-making level. It's been a little bit challenging, but we're working on it.
My biggest concern is something happened at the pre-treatment facility, and then we have a huge cost in our hand that we don't have a budget for it. And other customers that are not using that end up to paying for it. That's my biggest concern, that Upper McConkey has a reserve of millions of dollars from sewer that are collected. And now we're gonna shift the cost to other people. That is my concern as far as the responsibility that we have in the board. Okay. Moving to the next topic is the monthly project update.
Yes. So you have the report in your packet, and I'm not going to go through everything that's on the agenda for the next meeting on the 27th. I'll just say it's a lot. Pardon me, we have a lot of agenda items coming up in 2 weeks. A lot of project items and some administrative items as well. I did just want to note that we have now split apart two of the monthly reports. The monthly safety report and the monthly operations report are listed separately as we have the new format for the safety report. So you'll see that the next time around, and looking forward to that. If there's any questions about all the items that are on the agenda for next time, certainly happy to try to answer them. I think the only item really I wanted to highlight in particular is the Client's Island Sewer System Act 537 plan. And while the notes in the document say that we're expecting DEP comments by April 6th, the latest hot news is that we did get an approval letter on April 3rd. So we'll have that on the agenda for more discussion at the next meeting to share with you what that should say.
When we would have the first report from AJ's Procore on the project executions?
Oh gosh, I wish AJ could answer. He's got a.
I lost my voice over the weekend, but yeah, we're working very hard on that. I would say probably the second board meeting in May we'll have.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Going to next page, any staff comment?
I have nothing additional.
Thank you, so.
No comment, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any public comment?
No comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And any board member comment? Lisa has sent a note regarding the conflict of interest. I forgot whatever the form is.
Yes.
Everybody have received that and filled it and sent it back to Lisa. If you have not, please do that. That is part of the requirement as a board that we have to do that. Thank you, appreciate that. We will have our executive session, let's say at 1:15. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys. Have a great week.